Hello, everybody, and welcome or welcome back to the second shelf and to another recent reads on Sundays. I haven't done one of those in a while, caught up with other video things, but for those of you who might be new, I used to film a video on Sunday called Recent Reads, where I talk about the books that I've just finished or that I'm currently working on. So let's do a recent reads on Sunday on this, what is it? The 12th of February. I think it's Super Bowl night in the US. So whoever is watching Super Bowl, I hope your team wins. But let's talk about books here. So first I want to talk about 4 books that I've finished. Not all of them last week, but especially the first one I have to catch up with a book that I've read, I think even end of January, but have never talked about it. And that is Lakewood by Megan Giddings, published in 2020. This is a debut novel. Megan Giddings is a Black American author. This is sci-fi. And I first saw this book on Stephanie's channel from Time to Read. And she really liked it, and she had a giveaway. And I won my first giveaway ever. I never win anything. I'm like the personification of bad luck when it comes to betting or winning or, stuff like that. But I won a giveaway from Stephanie. Thank you so much. And I read it right away, and that was end of January. Anyway, so this debut sci-fi, it's not your, don't hang up now on me, because it's like you would. It's not a phone, but you know what I mean. It's not like Becky Chambers or Murderbot sci-fi. It's more dystopian sci-fi, and we follow our main character, Lena, or Lena Johnson is her last name, millennial in college, but her grandmother dies, who provided for Lena and the mother, because the mother is mentally ill, but also has physical issues, so she can't really work. And after the grandma dies, the financial situation becomes dire. And so Lena decides to drop out of college, at least for the time being, and accept a job in Lakewood, Michigan, which pays really well and has benefits for her mom, especially the, how do you call that, health insurance. So her mom gets health insurance. And it sounded really good. She has to live there, and then there are medical trials. For medical inventions that will help better the human race, quote unquote. And then the story takes off from there. Lena is a Black woman, and all the doctors and the researchers in that Lakewood Institute are white. She meets a couple of other participants who also happen to be people of color. And I mean, if you're a little bit familiar with history of experimenting on minorities, or doing medical procedures without consent on minorities, you know kind of where this book is going. So I'm not going to say any more about the plot, but it's quite, I definitely enjoyed this. I mean, it's a debut, and sometimes you can feel it. Or when you read it, you get the sense of a debut author trying too hard, stuff like that. But that is okay for a first book. So I think that Megan Giddings is certainly an author to watch, and I definitely enjoyed this dystopian. I mean, enjoyed. You know what I mean. The topic is horrible, but it was a good read. The next book I finished was a buddy read, and when I talked about this book first, I think in a hall or something, I said it's nonfiction. Well, it isn't. And I'm talking about Body Kintsugi by Senka Maric, translated from the Bosnian by Celia Hawksworth, published in Bosnia in 2018 and last year, 2022, in the English translation. This is a Pyrene Press book. They're in the series of the 3 novellas of 2022. And I read this with Jo Smith. I can't leave a link to any, oh, well, maybe I will leave a link to her Goodreads page. She's one of the most loyal subscribers and viewers and commenters, and buddy reads with her are always fantastic. But I presented this book as a memoir. It's about the breast cancer that the author actually had, and I thought it was a memoir, but it's autofiction. Anyway, it's a slim little book, but Jo and I, we had to take some time with it because it is harrowing. The description of the treatment once the protagonist was diagnosed with breast cancer and the multiple operations and the chemotherapy, and I couldn't stomach, more than 20 pages or something, or 10 pages a day. So this is a really in-your-face account, fictionalized account of Senka Maric's journey, if you want to use this benign word, through breast cancer. And she's obviously a breast cancer survivor because she could write the book, thankfully. But it's still quite harrowing to read. In the end, first of all, I had to get over myself that I was expecting a memoir and it was fiction. But that's my fault, not the book's fault, obviously. But for fiction, I have I have different expectations when it comes to fiction. So I need something of an arc, whether it's personal development, character development, story arc, plot. There is obviously a story, not much of plot. And in those short chapters where she talks about, about treatment, in between are chapters about her childhood. That did not entirely make sense to me, what she told me about the childhood of this protagonist. But my main issue with expectations, it's always books, you have certain expectations, and sometimes you're stupid like I am, expecting a memoir, and it's autofiction. But also when it comes to a title, Body Kintsugi, I will leave a picture up here of if I remember, of the kintsugi, which is a Japanese art of mending broken, especially ceramic porcelain things with a gold, that they are mended, glued together with a layer of gold. So it becomes something, the fault lines, the breakages are visible, but it becomes a beautiful art object through the accentuation of the fault lines with gold. And there's a whole philosophy behind that. And I love the idea of kintsugi. And I accidentally, it was a coincidence, not accidentally, coincidentally, I started reading about this about half a year ago or something. So I expected that the theme would also do something with that. The book would do something with that theme, I should rather say. And it didn't. And that kind of left me a bit disappointed, because don't choose a title like this if it doesn't mean anything. And I'm not sure whether the title in the original, yes, in the original it was also, kintsugi was also in the title. So it was, I think, not just a translation thing, but it was something that the author did on purpose. And that was a bit of a disappointment, but it's still worth, if you want to, submit to something that is quite difficult to read about breast cancer. The next book I finished was also a buddy read, this time with Kim from Middle of the Book March. And we have this project, a chill project, that we will read Irish literature by women, mostly novels. And in February, we picked up that project again and read Molly Keane, A Good Behavior, which was published in 1981. I have never read Molly Keane. She was an Irish author, obviously, and this was one of her last books, maybe even her last, that she wrote after a 20-year break from writing after her husband died unexpectedly. It's more or less historical fiction because it is situated earlier, obviously, in the 20s, not obviously, but it's situated earlier in the 20th century, and it's quite satirical about, the well-to-do aristocratic gentry society that is crumbling down, and it's just, there's no money often, at least not in that family that we encounter here, and it's, how do you want to put it? They just keep up with the horse riding and the parties and the have some marmalade, dear, kind of thing. And we follow our main character, a young woman. I already forgot her name. Aroon. It's spelled Aroon. And the book opens with the present day, so to speak, and with her mother being ill. And then we go back to Aroon's youth and what happened to the family, to the father, to the mother, to the brother. And even though the middle part dragged a little bit, I really enjoyed the writing, which I was surprised by because this book is like 80% dialogue. And I'm not a big fan of books in dialogue. There are some authors I don't read or enjoy because the story is told mainly in dialogue. It's just not something that I enjoy. I'm more, I like the descriptive things, the more introspective kind of writing. So I was surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did because, like I said, it's really 90%. Yeah, let's not exaggerate, but 80% is dialogue. But it's very subtly funny. It's satirical. This dysfunctional family as a example for a completely dysfunctional part of society was a joy to encounter in a, kind of way that you laugh about something that is actually horrible. And the last book that I finished is part of my quest to read more books from the Global South, which is not a geographical term. It's what we used to call the third world, developing world. So you can Google it and then you will get a map. And I want to focus for the time being, on Iran and the Caribbean. And this is a Caribbean author, at least she was born in Jamaica, Maisy. These ghosts are family. She was brought up in Brooklyn, though, but it's still, the book is also set for a part in Jamaica, and it is about Jamaican and Jamaican history. It's a debut also, and it really blew me away, I have to say. Again, I expected something that the book wasn't, because the blurb tells me that Stanford Salomons, one of the male main character, has a secret that he is not actually Salomon Stanford, but that he was born Abel Paisley and that he faked his own death. And so I thought, oh, that's a story about that. It's not. That is one element of the story, and then it's much broader about his family going back to slavery, the mixture of families, you know, white slaveholders, descendants, and it's really a broad picture of Jamaica family story and history, and I absolutely adored it. So those are the 4 books that I finished, and because we are already 15 minutes in, I'm just gonna very briefly mention the 3 books that I'm currently reading. Together with Heidi from my reading life, I'm reading Gloria Nayla'S Mama Day. This is also the February pick. I'm just checking when it was published, 1988. This is also the February pick of Kim's book club, where she, the Blind Eye book club, you can join on Voxer. Just check out Kim's channel. I read Women of Brewster Place by Gloria Nayla'S and thought it was brilliant. And this is the story of also a female-centered family story with the grandmother and a sister, and grandmother and her sister, and the granddaughter who lives in New York, whereas grandmother and Mama Day live on this fictional island off the coast of Georgia, and all kinds of things are happening. I love the way that Naylor is able to bring characters, especially female characters, to life. Then I'm reading a nonfiction, Barbara Tuchman, A Distant Mirror, about the calamitous 14th century. This is a read-along organized by Steve, over at Steve Donahue. And this book had been on my shelf for 11 years. Now I'm finally reading it, and it is just what it says on the tin. It tells the story of the 14th century in Europe. And it's fantastic. Barbara Tuchman is writes historical books about historical events or history, but she mainly tells a good story, which I often miss in, these very academic kind of historian type books, especially biographies, and the writer knows a lot, but just can't tell a story. Well, she can. It's fantastic. And the last one, the book that I just started, is another buddy read with Adam from Memento Mori. As always, I will leave his Instagram, a link to his Instagram account. And we are making our way again through Le Guin's work, and we are reading The Lathe of Heaven, published in 1971. Yes, for me, it's a reread. This is one of my favorites of Le Guin, about a guy, George, I can never remember his first name, George Orr, O-R-R, who is a dreamer, but his dreams have implications in the real world, and he knows it, and he is horrified by it, and he wants to do something about it. And then he meets the psychiatrist, and then plot ensues from there, I would say. So yeah, we have our first check-in tomorrow on Monday for the first half. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what Adam has to say about this. 18 and a half minutes. I want to keep it under 20. So these were the books that I read and I'm currently reading. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, I'm looking forward to your comments very much, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.